it looked like the Silver Surfer took a piss on record box. Double meaning, obviously, like to be a freak, like, freak at night, you know what I mean?
Welcome, everybody, to the Beyond the Decks podcast, your guide to mastering the art and business of the electronic, dance, and DJ music industry. I'm your host, Robert Simos, here with Learningtodj.com. And as you can see, we have escaped the metaverse, the internet. We're actually recording live here at Secret Weapons Sound downtown here in Toronto. And I'm really thrilled to be speaking with this gentleman here today, Razaq Koya, right? Koya. Or as he's better known by his stage name, Razaq El Toro. And Razaq was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria, and ventured into Canada when he was in his teens, if I'm not mistaken.
Late teens. I was a week from turning 20.
Yeah. And you worked your way up through, all aspects of like the nightlife industry to become a very like well-known, very present act in the competitive world of like Toronto's electronic music scene. Not only that, Razaq is also 1/3 of the African electronic dance music experience, Afrique Like Me with Sonic Griot and Martin Says.
Yes.
But you're also, one of these pioneers of this genre, eco-electronic, as well, if I'm not mistaken, which is like Lagos electronic, Afrobeats meets electronic music.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm super thrilled to be chatting with you today, Razaq, and welcome to the show.
Yo, thank you. That was quite the intro. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you. This guy's done his research. Yo, that's awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we talk a little bit about your background? Like I said, you sort of came to Canada with this background, like in your 20s, coming to this whole new culture, this whole new world. But obviously, you probably left this whole other culture behind in Nigeria with its own musical influence. So what kind of, musical influences and things were you surrounded with back home before coming to Canada?
So I would say it's kind of crazy because I feel like growing up, first off, like I was exposed to a lot of music, like really diverse music growing up in Nigeria. I think the cool thing about that is, if you had cable, you had access to American music, like what was like popping in the States, but you also got a lot of like European things. So we grew up with a lot of, the American influence, but, we had access to a lot of, really dope European music that I feel like, the average person in the States wasn't really checking for, So, yeah, growing up in Nigeria, you kind of get like that world influence, and obviously they played a lot of like African music on like the TV and the radio and stuff. But yeah, it was a blessing because we were definitely exposed to a diverse range of music.
And so when you were coming up as a teenager, if I'm not mistaken, you were already experimenting with like some form of music production, like different kinds of things?
Not necessarily. Like I have 4 older brothers. I'm like the last kid. Like our house was also like a lot of people came to party at our house. You know what I mean? So, also growing up, like my parents, like my dad was like a party person. Like we always like entertaining people. We're like a very like we like having fun in our family. So I feel like like since I was a kid, I've always taken note of music. Like I feel like music was always something I really enjoyed. Not from I think I took like a few music classes ever, and I was just like, oh, it's not for me, to be honest. Like the theory aspect of it. But yeah, I've always just loved like curating and taking in music I didn't even know what the fuck curating meant at the time. But I guess I was doing it my entire life because I was one of those dudes that, like I'll stay up late, as a kid to record from the radio onto cassette tapes, because I had to be that guy if there was like a school dance happening or whatever. Because usually the way it works in Nigeria, at the end of the school year, there's always like a bit of like a kind of like a 1 week break where you still go to school, but you're kind of like not doing anything.
Mhm.
It's usually that week when like the teachers are like marking your exams and all that stuff. I know you. That's like the party, because exams are done. The holiday's about to start, so you kind of like just go to school, you ping pong, play soccer, and like you play music. So I was like, I was always that dude that, I had like the mixtapes. And I didn't know I was making mixtapes at the time. I was just basically recording the hottest songs from the radio that I could find onto these cassette tapes and, trying to like sequence them, right? But yeah, I feel like that was just always me. Always enjoyed a good party. Like I said, I had like four older brothers. We threw a lot of house parties at home. I have like a lot of like pretty really cool cousins that were so like in the same headspace, and they always had parties. Yeah, music was just always a big thing. I didn't dabble into like a friend of mine showed me Fruity Loops when I was like 16 or 15 in Nigeria, and I think that was the first time where I was like, whoa, hold up. What do you mean you can make a beat from your freaking computer, Because the whole time, the idea of making a beat, you had to be in a place like this.
Yeah.
Go there. I did not know what it took to make a beat, but I remember when my friend Jide Owolabi, he showed me Fruity Loops, and I was just like, holy. I'm like, okay, cool. So I kind of like just kept that in the back of my head. And so it wasn't until I came to this part of the world, my first dollar I earned, actually, no, I probably did not buy it. I probably pirated it. But, I got Fruity Loops still. I think the first thing I bought was Samurai X, the DVD on eBay. But yeah.
So did DJing come first for you then, or
No.
So it was you started with Fruity Loops, you started making these beats,
Yeah.
and then were you making house or anything at the time, or what were you doing?
No, so like I started making hip hop. I started making hip hop. I was attempting to make hip hop beats with Fruity Loops, and that was my thing. Essentially, I was just making like a bunch of like beat loops that sounded good, and I was doing that for a while. Yeah, like just basically trying to make a beat a day. Like whenever I have like some free time, just trying to learn the program, the workarounds. Bear in mind, while I started making beats, I couldn't tell you the difference between a BPM and like 2 bars. Like all that lingo was new to me, so I was kind of like learning on the fly. And for you kids out there, this is before YouTube, before it could be like, oh, how do you make a trap beat with progressive house? And there's 40 tutorials for that. This was before. I actually remember when YouTube first came out. This was before YouTube, so I ended up buying Fruity Loops because I needed the manual, and I kept on like trying to like learn through the manual, and like I had like this massive book I was trying to read. So yeah, that's how I started. I started making beats. Yeah, and just fun fact, I also used to rap a little bit.
Okay.
To try and like complement the beats. I get my boy Kenny, who was a dope rapper at the time, to rap. Yeah, man, we're just kind of like playing around.
So then so you started with, rapping, you started with a little bit of hip hop, and then where did, I guess, the DJing aspect come in for you?
The DJing aspect, yeah, because I was making a lot of a lot of beats. Then I actually started slowly getting into house, making like electronic beats. Because yeah, like in Nigeria, like like we got exposed to a lot of like the classics, like Mojo Lady, Sonique was like massive. Like a lot of like the UK house, like the Fat Boy Slim songs. We were big on FIFA growing up. Like yo, like trust me, like our block. It's like we had so many homes. We had 5 boys in my house. for some reason there was at least like I knew like at least 5 other families that had 5 boys in that little place we lived. So it was on, you know what I mean? So FIFA was a way of life, you know. But one thing I'll credit FIFA for, they always had like such amazing soundtracks.
Yeah.
And like for instance, first time I heard like The Streets, for instance, the UK guy, you know, like that was from FIFA. Um, you know, just like a lot of like really dope electronic soundtracks. But anyways, fast forward to, you know, after I sort of get my way around making hip hop beats. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna start, experimenting with electronic music because I've always just had this thing about, you know, trying to, you know, have my own lane, you know. And so I started playing with that. I remember I got like a Korg synthesizer. I have this thing where I just sort of like go into things without like having an idea what to do with them. It just sounded, I'd made some pretty cool sounds off it, but I wasn't utilizing it. And so anyways, at the time, you know, I started making like house beats or whatever. Then I actually used to work at this bar on the Danforth. It's kind of like a really like cool like resto lounge. You know, like I used to bar back there. And you know, it was cool. You know, like, you know, it was like a proper club on Fridays and Saturdays. And you know, they used to bring in like amazing DJs and, you know, all this stuff. But I guess just because of how the club was laid out, like I just kind of felt like, yo, like, you know, like I guess because I worked there, I was like, man, I hear the same song literally every week. Like I could look at the time and I could tell what song is gonna come on.
Next.
And then when
Like
it's
a
gonna have it,
jukebox.
you know what I mean? But you know, it's like at the end of the day, I know the DJs, you know, they're doing bottle service in this place. You know, fucking people want to hear certain things they're familiar with and all that. But I remember just being like, yo, like, man, like this guy's kind of like playing the same stuff. Oh, fantastic DJs, but I'm like, you know, if I was to DJ, you know, I'd probably switch it up a little bit more, you know. And I think that's when it kind of like hit me. I was like, like, you know, maybe I should start DJ because I had like, you know, at this point I was like, you know, like 4 years deep in like just making beats and all that stuff, right? So I was just like, yeah, you know, like I'll start playing around with this. So I got like a Hercules controller.
Yes.
The silver one. The silver Hercules controller, bro.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was like the little indent on the jog wheel, right? Was it one of those ones?
I can't remember, bro. It was yeah, it looked like the Silver Surfer took a piss on a record box mini thing. It was glazed. It was glazed in silver. Yeah. It got the job done because, you know, like I was able to understand the basics of it. And my roommate at the time, KB, shout out KB, his little brother was visiting from Botswana. And yeah, this kid was like maybe 13 years old, but you know, if you know anything about like South Africa and Botswana, you know they love the house music. So homeboy was, you know, like learning to DJ at the time. And funny enough, like just watching him kind of like, there's like a 13-year-old kid kind of like around. I was like, like, because once again, this was, you know, at the start of YouTube-ish, so there wasn't like a lot of like tutorials per se. You know, learning to DJ was not around then. You know what I mean? This is pre learning to DJ, pre YouTube. So we didn't have this help. So guys, subscribe because he's got you. You don't have to go through the same path I went through. He'll do it for you, no problem. But yeah, no, like so I couldn't find a lot of information on how to like teach myself how to DJ. And I couldn't pay someone. So I remember like just, you know, like just jamming with, you know, KB's little brother.
And just throwing tracks in.
And
then you sort of like, you're like, oh, I kind of pulled this EQ.
Yeah.
I was like,
wow. I think, to be honest, like I remember, I think it was like watching him like sort of like EQ out, you know, like bass line like that. All right, cool. Yeah. You know, then I was just like, yeah, like that's how that works.
It's kind of crazy when you don't even have that vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just like, okay, this is doing something to the track.
100%.
But I can't tell you what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. So that was kind of cool, and yeah, I think
So
that's
at this bar then, because I if I remember correctly, we kind of talked a little bit about this at some point, and there was like a mishap or something. The DJ couldn't make it, and then you had been, I guess, practicing some DJing at the time when they were like, "Hey, Razaq, do you want to play? Do you want to substitute for them?"
no,
that wasn't it?
I wish it was as cool as the story as that, but no. I wish the guy didn't show up and they're just like, oh my god, this is gonna save the day. And I pull out two USBs. I have them linked like nunchucks. No, that's not what happened. I wish, but yeah, no, like the guys I work with, shout out to Angelo, Tim, and Dave, the chef. The chef at the time was like, because you know, starting to get into DJing, and it's like, dude, wow, like just start throwing your own parties, man. Like you don't have to necessarily wait for like to DJ in a club like this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay. And I started like looking for places I could probably DJ. I was probably only DJing for, I was practicing for like maybe 6 months at the time, right?
Yeah.
I started practicing around December. This was like, June or so. And but I was looking for spots around, I guess maybe like Tim, my boy, who was also the manager at the time, like spoke to the owner and they're just like, yo, like we just give you a Thursday night, like if you wanna play with this. I'm like, all right, cool,
Did
so
you have
yeah,
a concept for the night or anything like
just
that?
like no, it's just like
just a
literally
Thursday.
like I think I'd made like a mixtape CD or something like that, and I called it like a mixtape or CD release party or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, I was living in Danforth, and yeah, I was just like telling everyone to come through. It was pretty dope. It was
Yeah.
pretty dope actually. Like,
What were you doing? Were you like phoning people up? Or you texting people?
no, like no. Well, I was also like, honestly, from my house to Local. The name of the spot was Local on the Danforth. Shout out to Local. That place was legendary. From my house on Danforth and Logan to Local, which was like Danforth and Carlaw, which is closer to like just past Pape. The amount of people that I'll see that came to Local every weekend, like I'll literally see everyone, So I just tell them, I'm like, doing a party next week, doing a party next week. I went to the gym that was next door to my house, doing a party next week. So yeah, and people pulled up, man. Like we just had like the main level, but like it was pretty busy, and like, and I just got to put house. It was a little bit on the cheesier side, but it was still, it was at least it was a different sound than what was playing on, the Fridays and Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was such a good time, man. It was a good time. Like, I had literally every song and the times of the transitions written down on a piece of paper.
Really?
Yeah, dog.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I was like planned out the whole set.
Yeah.
And I remember if I missed the timing, I'm like, yeah. So yeah, man, it's like I didn't want to it up, and but yeah, also I think that day I also realized, yeah, like it's okay to around a little bit.
Mhm.
I think at one point my laptop crashed
During that night?
During that night,
Oh,
like
God.
mid said, and of course my boy Tony. So it goes boo. But you need people like that in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good. It was good. And yeah, like I just had like all my friends down, like yeah, friends, supporters, like yeah, people came through for me that night, like and like they actually vibed out. They had a good time.
One of the things we like I talked about actually in one of my courses is like because I think especially here in Toronto, right? Like it's when you're in a major city like this, trying to throw an event and like having pull is difficult because there's so many different options. And so we talked about like trying to start an event. I guess like how did you handle that internally? Like was there a little bit of fear like would people show up or
Yeah, there's always fear for that. But I think now the best way to this also like this was my first event. So this was my first event. I was, people would just come to support me. It's like whatever. It was like they're happy to encourage me to start this thing, right? And these are people that I've known and seen for like a few years at this point, right? So there was like a trust thing there where they're like, yo, we're gonna help this guy, we're gonna support him, we're gonna make sure his night is good and all that. I think now, there's two ways to go about it. If there's a lot of people that can just say, oh, I'm doing an event, and they can literally just call up folks, be like, yo, I'm doing a party, or they text people and they're like, oh, I'm there, But I feel like, the people that can do that, I feel like you have to be a certain level of extrovert, and you also have to be just good at communication and keeping relationships very well, but to a point where it's kind of like easy for you, where it's not too stressful. Some people can do that, where, I know people that, like they can call you up, no problem, just like, yo, how you doing, man? You good? You good? Yo, where you at tonight? They'll pull up to where you at. They're just so great at showing up for other people, And I feel like those are the people that do really well in this space when they do decide to, become like entertainers or DJs, because, they've shown up so many times for other people, they've maintained good friendships, they have like the crew or whatever, even if it's not like straight up friendships, but they've maintained a level of connection and assurance to many individuals that when they when they put on shows, people are inclined to show up because they're like, yo, this guy's shown up for me like a good amount of times, right? And they'll pull up, and when those people show up and the event is quality and well done, then that's it. They're hooked. It's like, because this guy's like, oh my God, this guy's a good person and can throw in a good event. It's like, so that's one way. Another way is just trying to come out. You got to come up with something very unique. In a way where you really like cut out your competition. You present something unique. You have to look at it from the aspect of why would a stranger want to come to this event. It has to be like a fresh sound, something, you gotta take the risk. You have to build that. You have to build your lane. You have to build that thing for them to be like, yo, this is something I would rock with, like this is something I want to go to. I may not know what it is, or, I know what it is and I feel like there isn't much of this in this city right now. But I feel like when you build something unique, people will come for sure. It might take a while, to get it going, but as long as you do it right, just don't screw yourself over. Always start small. If you're doing a first event, don't go book out a 400 person capacity venue, because when those 30 people show up, you're gonna be like, oh,
it's really empty.
Book yourself in 60 person venue. When the 30, 40 people show up, you're like, fuck, it'll look super full, bro. Like, yo, you'll be crowd surfing on people.
So that actually leads really well into A Freak Like Me.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a very unique concept for this city. And Afro House Afro Tech has been on such an ascendancy for the past couple of years. But, coming to your events, I definitely noticed it's a unique thing because, there was a bunch of these other subgenres like Gom or, oh my gosh, there's some piano sometimes, like I'm a piano. But can you talk, elaborate a little bit on what is A Freak Like Me?
Okay.
Where did it come from, and what's the origin story there?
Yeah, well, A Freak Like Me is an African electronic dance party and collective based out of Toronto. Right now it's me, Martin Sess, and Sonny Griot. That's Martin and Anua. The concept actually started. We're about to do our 5-year anniversary for the party series in November. The concept actually started, I want to say like 8 or 9 years ago. I want to say about like 9 years ago. I'd put out like this mixtape, and I'd called it "A Freak Like Me." And the reason why I did that is, you know, sort of like has like a double meaning. Obviously, like to be a freak. Like freak at night. You know what I mean? but also it's sort of like being like the outcast slash outsider in a
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Like slash like like kind of like in high school you have like the freaks and geeks in a sense. Because I've always enjoyed being like in my own lane. Like I never really cared too much to fit in. Like I've always enjoyed just being in my space. Like I remember there was one time I was in high school in Nigeria and we had this house party, and I'll never forget, it was like, like everyone from my high school was so like outside, and like all the older dudes, even the younger dudes, so the guys were just chilling outside and everyone was smoking. And I remember this girl was like walking by and she looks at me, she's like, "Oh, you don't smoke?" I was like, "Nah, I don't smoke." And I just kind of like that feeling that, I kind of stood out by not smoking. And to this day, I never smoked, like cigarettes, the devil's lettuce is another thing. But I also don't smoke that often. But so I was like, like I've always enjoyed just sort of like having like my own like niche taste and sound and just whatever.
Identity.
Yeah, that's the word, identity. So that's where a freak like me comes from, because at the time, like 9 years ago, or yeah, about 9 years ago, there wasn't Afro house I didn't know. It wasn't like necessarily Afro house. Afro beats was just starting to, here and there crossover. It wasn't like crossed over yet, but it was, starting to cross over a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, like house music was the main thing, and I started playing house music when I first started DJing. But I felt the need to incorporate like my culture in a lot of these sets, as much as possible. Just to have like more of like my identity. And at the time when I recorded that mixtape, that's where my head was at. Like I kind of felt, like I was very much in the house scene. I remember I'd played at Coda already. Then this is when Coda first opened-ish too. I was doing like I was starting to build like a small name in like the house music scene. Like I used to play at Parlor. I used to play a lot with my friends like Peter, Andy Q. Like, there was something nice bubbling, right? But like I just felt like I didn't necessarily quite have my identity. So that mixtape was, me just, just trying to like, put like a different, like a new sound and a new like
paint, new color.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where that came from. And from then I was like, you know what, like this is something I want to build on further, but like I knew I couldn't do it by myself, like straight up. So I was like, just kind of like patiently waiting, to find the right time. I feel like, over the first little bit, like I kind of like, I just kind of like scanned the room. I don't think I might have floated it here and there, like very loosely, but like I never like acted on it. You know what I mean? Then there was a summer, like I guess like 5 years ago now, probably exactly around 5 years ago. Actually, yeah, probably exactly 5 years ago now. I I met I was DJing this park party. It's funny enough, the event series was called Afro House. Some Sarah used to run it. Sarah's like OG, like dope music events curator in the scene. And so I was like, was playing my sound there, and it was a really cool day, like a beautiful summer day. And I was playing like this equa electronic sound, which was very much like my remix. So I was playing like some of my Burna Boy remixes and all that stuff. And Martin was there, and Martin was like, "Oh, that's the first time I met Martin." And it's like, man, this is like exactly what I want to do, And I thought he was DJing already, but like he just corrected me recently. If he was here right now, he'd be like, "Nope." It's like that's not when I. It's like that's not when I said I wanted to play that sound. It's like that's the moment I actually said I was gonna start DJing. I play that, and sort of like have like that style,
Yeah.
And so he had invited me to like an event he was doing. He sent me a mix, but it's like sometimes you don't get like through mixes or whatever. Like I just figured, yeah, it was probably good. So anyways, he was doing this event on like a Friday night or so, or Saturday night. Turns out I was off, which is weird. It just happened. Like I screwed up a schedule. So I was like, all right, dope, perfect. I'll go check out this show. And I went, and I was thoroughly impressed. It was like a music and fashion show, but his sound was like dark, like Afro tech, but it was also mixing like like the Afrobeat sound.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. I was like, let's go, and I was thoroughly impressed. And that night I told him, I'm like, yo, like, yeah, I need to talk to you about something, yeah, I'm like, I need to talk to you about something. Like, let's meet up next week.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, say less. And we met up the next week, and I basically pitched him the Afrique Like Me thing. It's just like, bro, it's basically like, why are you even still talking, bro? Let's do this. Yeah. And yeah, man, like you met him, man. He's go guy. You know what I mean? It's like, and yeah, man,
I mean, you guys have grown so much.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
As a brand, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating how I guess you integrate all three of your different styles into that brand, and then you deliver that into that kind of unique experience as a party. And it's like it is a differentiating, because when there is an Afrique Like Me party happening in the city, and I've been to a few, right? It is a different experience, right? Everybody is having a great time, and everybody knows each other in some way too. It has that aspect of community.
Yeah. That's what we strive for, like our main thing is, no judgment, come as you are, we try our best to maintain that feeling, because that is a feeling where, you come in, that especially in a city like Toronto, man, like that sense of belonging is very crucial, and we also just want people to be able to come to our parties alone. You know what I mean? And feel safe and comfortable enough to be there and just dance, experience, meet people, just chill, vibe out. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like that's a big thing without it seeming like cliquey or whatever. Like I want it to feel more like a village, like a community. So
like a house party.
Yeah,
almost,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everybody shows up and they're just jamming.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that is the origin of a lot of house music, and a lot of like is these little tight communities, right?
Yeah.
They just showed up. They showed up every week. They showed up every 2 weeks, right? And then everybody just kind of got together. And like you said, I mean, going out, there is a kind of like an inhibition sometimes of people just going out to events by themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be, but if everybody's just having a good time and everybody's open, and you curate those spaces and places or containers to be open, right? That's I mean, it's just a critical service.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
So,
but actually, so just wrap how it started. I have to include, so that first event, so I've known Anwar for a while. Anwar, I actually met Anwar about 10 years ago at Electric Island. So full circle moment. We played together at Electric Island this summer. So that was kind of cool. But Anwar was there that night. I remember like messaging her to like, come, She's like, like I'm sleeping, but she got up and she came through, and like it was a big vibe. And I think after that we did something in Lagos. Electronic.
Nice.
And by the time we came back, COVID happened. And so technically the next Afrique Like Me event we had one online. Then the next in person one was like a renegade party at a park, and we just kind of like did that at Fort York, which was sick. Then Anwa hosted that one, and after she hosted that, I was like, "Fuck, man!" Like like it just seemed dope. Like it seemed organic. It was easy, super easy to work with. I've known her for a while. I know she has like an interesting taste in music. I know she wanted to DJ. She had like like a vision. And I was like, I hit up Martin. I'm like, yo, like, what do you think about her? Like, be part of the crew. And it's like, say less. And yeah, we asked her, and yeah, she was super down. And since man, I couldn't ask for the better two people to be doing with, because yeah, for everything I lack in, which is kind of a lot, yeah, they just they bang things out.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's one of the differences, because DJing often is like, it is more of like an individual pursuit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now we have a little bit more DJ groups and like these kind of collectives, right? But when you are kind of like if you start a business or something, right, and you have a business partner, they fill in your gaps, they fill in those weaknesses, and especially in like a competitive scene like Toronto, right, where you kind of have to hit all those marks, right? Unique concept, good marketing, pulling crowd, right? Which usually everybody has like maybe one thing that they're good at, right? So being able to have, I guess, 3 or 4 people on that team kind of, I guess, helps in that.
Oh, yeah, 100%, 100%. Like it's such a game changer. Like, yeah, especially when we're like on the same page with things. And yeah, like everyone is just sort of like doing something, we're working simultaneously on different things.
Yeah.
It helps big time. Like there's a lot of things like I'm good at that they just let me handle. A lot of things they handle, I just act like I don't, like, you know what I mean? It's like it works,
Yeah.
But I think it's important to work with. We lucked out because I feel like we all have like we have like the same vision, same goal, but we all have like different personalities and strengths, and then we try just to play off those strengths.
Yeah. So looking at a scene like Toronto, which, as I mentioned, is very competitive, right? And for a variety of different reasons. Technology has obviously increased the number of DJs available, and maybe the number of venues available is either static or decreasing. What would your advice be to people in a major city like Toronto, if they were just starting out DJing and they're they know their way around like maybe a controller or CDJs or whatever, and they're looking to find gigs? What would you recommend?
I'll probably have a couple of pointers. First, it's like if you're just getting started, it's like how diverse is your music library? It's like, are you trying to focus on a specific niche, or are you just trying to get DJ work? If you're just trying to like get DJ work and like make money or whatever, that's fine. It's easy. Just be be comfortable enough mixing different genres. It's usually like whatever, like just hits or whatnot. If you can bring in some of your personality into that, by like just playing, like I always say, like for every like if you're playing like open format, you, regardless of where it is, like I feel like you should be a good DJ will be able to play like those B sides that would hit. You know what I mean? Like that eclectic vibe. Like you should be able to pull something out of left field that everyone's like, yo, like, that's kind of crazy. That's what makes you a DJ. You know what I mean? In any aspect. I can't stand when DJs just so like rinse like, but whatever. I also have this thing where I feel like the open format DJ in like 5 years would be the new underground DJs. Yeah. Because a lot of DJs coming in now, they can only play one genre.
Yeah, like house or tech house.
You know what I mean? They only play one sound and one thing. And they're getting booked because, they have like a few TikToks where they like, and People are like, yo, this guy's sick. And yeah, they hear that. It's like, okay, like what else? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
no shade, but like that's just what it is, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, in this day and age where, the barrier the barrier to like getting into DJing is like low.
Mhm.
What makes you like a actual memorable DJ is the things you can pull out of left field. And just basically pulling things to like fit the vibe. That's what makes you that person. Um, and I say like, the open format DJs would be the underground DJs in like 5 years, because a lot of the new DJs I know right now that are coming in, a lot of them are dope and all that, but they can't necessarily play, and they don't care to. They don't want to play, and that's fine. Which is why I feel like the more like this goes, you know, the deeper we go. In 5 years, if you walk into a party and start playing Miley Cyrus party in the USA, you're like, oh,
It's like a pendulum. It's like a
you
pendulum.
know what I mean? Yeah. So, I feel like, yeah, like those would be like the new cool old black DJs, and like, yeah, I can play Britney.
Come full circle.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I have a feeling like, we're gonna reach a certain level of underground in that space.
Mhm.
But yeah, and it's back to your question, for newcomer DJs. Yeah, I'd say, obviously, like, to build a name for yourself, you can either go that route of being like this open format DJ, but you have to be dope in that takes skill, so you can go the proper route, or like, not proper route, but like the traditional route,
Mhm.
and try and build your skill of like mixing, and mixing involves mixing songs with like, pretty wide range of BPMs and genres. But the good thing about starting that way is, if you're dope, you're dope, like straight up, you know what I mean? And I guess just work on like your selection, go out, soak up the vibe, soak up the energy, see what people respond to. You have to go out. Like, you cannot be a bedroom DJ, and expect to show up to a party and be like, yo, this shit's gonna slap. You'll be surprised. It's like your favorite song is gonna clear out the dance floor, no problem. So, so you have to go out, see what people respond to, and just use that as an inspiration when you're curating your set.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to focus on a niche, that's also fine. That, in my opinion, is, if done well, it's probably the
Easier route.
easier route, and also like the more artsy route, because you have like
More
your
like,
identity, like you have your identity. It's like people know, yes, this, D, I'm a piano DJ playing this sound, um, and as long as you play like the vibes well, you can layer things on top of it. I think you'll be fine. So I think focusing on a niche is where it's at, in this day and age. Um, I think, yeah, but I think just going out also to a lot of events, meeting people, meeting promoters. I don't think there's a lot of promoters now, but just basically meeting organizers, or people in the space. Try your best to be available to like come through for like other people within the community or this scene. Show up to just show support. People tend to support people that support them. Um, and yeah, like just try and build yourself a brand. The one thing I know helps too. And it's tough to do this, but like, try and be yourself first off. First, like, being yourself is the main thing. Um, but it helps when you can sort of like build like I'm not big on using the word brand,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels kind of corporate and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when you build like you use the word identity. I like that a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Try and build like an identity around yourself, like when you're out and about, and try and keep it consistent, because at the end of the day, it's like, everyone sees like, 1,000 faces a day. You want to be like, yo, just from like your silhouette, you want people to be like, oh, that's Rob,
Be
like,
so raw and authentic.
you know what I mean?
That people will recognize you for just showing up at the party
Just
as like
showing
who
up.
you are.
Yeah, but to take it further, like, I'm not saying wear the same clothes every day, because
Black t-shirt, jeans.
you know what I mean? But yeah, like you'd be surprised things like that,
Yeah.
like set you, like, at least when you starting to like, get your name out there,
Yeah.
it makes you more recognizable like 10 times faster,
Mm-hmm.
than if you I wear my hair down, I put on this.
Yeah.
Like, yo, like the day I showed up to one of my gigs with my hair down and a beanie, bro, no one recognized me.
Everybody's like, who's this guy? Where's Razaq?
Yo, like, because it was funny because I put like I was gonna have like a bite before.
Yeah.
And I was sort of like having like small talk with the bartender who sees me, and she kind of like she was giving me like the courtesy laugh, like I was like, okay, that's strange. I see a server that I talk to every week. I go up to him, I'm like, yo, man, what's going on, man? It's like, yo, what up? I'm like, yeah, chill, my how's your week? It's like, my week was great. It's like, I'm Tyler. And I'm like, I thought it was joking around because there was another server there. And I go, I'm Razaq, haha, It's like, oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yo, it's like, because I didn't have my glasses on, my hair was down.
Yeah.
No one recognized me, so I'm just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like,
small things like that.
and that really stuck in my head because I'm like, these people have seen me just like on the weekends at night only. They've only seen me with my shades on. They've never taken in my actual like face without my shades. My hair is always up.
Yeah.
They in their mind, like they're like, oh, that's Razaq's haircut. Like, might even know it's locks. Yeah, so it's like that really stuck out because I'm like, like that's crazy. And if for someone that's looking to get into DJing, most of the people you're gonna be seeing are usually like at night too, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the clubs or whatever. There's limited light, limited time. No one is like talking to you and like looking in your eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're not like soaking in all the features. They're not like, you know what I mean? It's like
stirred at the booth.
Like legit. They're just like this. It's like, oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
So, I think if you're trying to be, a little bit more memorable and recognizable, trying to like, it wouldn't hurt to figure out like, like an aesthetic that you're comfortable with, that you want to go with, and maybe try and be consistent with it at the parties you like.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy like, for a while now obviously I know him, is super cool. But for a while, like if I see him at the parties, I'm like, I think that's him. Then he takes his shirt off. I'm like, that's him. He's the shirt off, dude.
He's got a behavioral thing. Yeah, I love that.
But when I see him with the shirt, I'm just like, that looks.
I don't know if that's the guy. Oh, that's so funny.
So yeah.
It's a good point though.
Yeah, man. It's like having like that consistent look. It just makes you. It makes you recognizable, and it creates like that familiarity, right?
Yeah. As we wrap here, I've got one last, set of questions. I think I did prep you with them, but 3 tracks on repeat, Under the Radar, and Your Guilty Pleasure, Razaq.
Oh, okay. So 3 tracks. One's what, on repeat?
On repeat. One is Under the Radar, and one is Your Guilty Pleasure.
Okay, so I'll give you some brand new ones. Maybe I'll give you what I've been listening to a lot. Actually, what I've been listening to a lot this week, I just discovered a couple of days ago, is it's a remake of The Weeknd's The Morning, which is like off like his first like mixtape.
Yeah.
By DJ Houseplants.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, featuring this girl Uchi. I don't know what country she's from, but she like, anyways, DJ House Plants featuring Uchi, The Morning. It's like a sick, like chill lo-fi house version of that song, and that the mornings week, the weekends, the morning.
That's a
The weekends, the morning, afternoon. What the fuck? But yeah, saying that out loud, I'm just like, what the hell? But anyways, the weekends, the morning is one of my favorite songs of all time, and they did justice to this lo-fi house remix. It's like such a vibe, such a vibe. So I have that on repeat right now. Next one is
Under the Radar.
Under the Radar, like kind of like underground or
A little bit. Like it's sort of one of those tracks that you just is like not, you're not hearing it as much as it deserves to be heard.
Okay. Under the Radar. What song have I been playing quite a bit that is super under the radar? Actually, no, let me give my guilty pleasure first. My guilty pleasure has to be, so another song that just came out is Jesse Reyes and Lil Wayne.
Okay.
First off, like during my rap era, yo, Lil Wayne is literally the greatest of all time rapper. Like I've been listening to Lil Wayne. People say, oh, Drake has a crazy run right now. But now that I think about it, I've been listening to Lil Wayne since I was like 12. And the crazy thing is, Lil Wayne was probably 13 when I was listening to him and was already putting out gangster rap. I didn't realize it at the time. It was like, yo, these guys from New Orleans are crazy. It's like, I was a kid in Nigeria. I thought they were so much older than me, the Hot Boys. But yo, Lil Wayne is only like a couple years older than me. But like, anyways, I've been listening to Lil Wayne since I was that young. And to hear him still like rapping, like with the same style and just his crazy metaphors. But yeah, he has a new, Jesse Reyes features him on a new song. The song is called Riding. It's very like popish, you know. It's funny. It doesn't even sound like, even though she's like an amazing like R&B singer, whatever. To me, it doesn't sound like an R&B song. It sounds like a proper like sick pop song, you know. And the lyrics are like so dope. You know what I mean? It's and Lil Wayne's verse on it is fantastic. Her whole singing on that track is just beautiful. It's like, so that's, you know, I don't do karaoke, but if you guys see me at the next karaoke, I'm gonna be singing that out like big time. I'm gonna be with Jesse Reyes and Lil Wayne in the same spot. Now Under the Radar, and it has to be a.
It can also just be a track, you know, from old school track that like, you know, is in your crate and you're just like, this is, you know, this is the youngins haven't heard this out at the club and they need to hear this.
Under the Radar, like clubs. That's a tough one, man, because I do like a lot of. Okay, I'll give you. Okay, you know what? I'll say like my Under the Radar song has to be, you know, would be the song called B-Side by Tanner Ross. Okay. And that song was I should probably like find out exactly where Tanner Ross is. I feel like he might be Canadian dude, but it was under the label Number 19, which is run by Nitin, who's like a Toronto legend. So shout out the boss man Nitin. He's sick. Like art department and all those guys were under that label. Or they released on that label. But yeah, I'd say like my Under the Radar song has to be B-Side by Tanner Ross, because I've never heard anyone play it out, you know. And it's just such a, you know, the BPM is like 116, 117, but the bass line is just doom 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 doom. So crazy. And there's this like wild like flute that comes on that I swear to God, like, you know, if a snake
Charmer was here, and like the snake will come out with a crazy vibe.
Yeah.
The snake will come out. The snake will come out of the K-hole. Let's just put it that way.
And come out of the dance floor and just start
Bro,
vibing.
the song is so crazy, man. It's such a vibe. I've never heard a DJ play it out. Never, and like, I've never heard a DJ play it out. You know, I've dropped it a few times, but it's just such a beautiful track. But yeah, I'll say that's like my under the radar track.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, man, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation, sharing some of this experience and wisdom. And we'll put all these, different tracks into the show notes. And so for now, this has been, Beyond the Decks. Thank you, Razaq, again.
I appreciate you, brother.
For tuning in.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
And make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the different platforms, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.